So let's go further with integrals. They can be indefinite. This is an indefinite. Indefinite integral. It can be a definite integral. So what's the difference? The indefinite you saw in the previous lesson had plus c to define what the result is. But let's say if you have, you know that for indefinite from the previous lesson, now the definite ones. If you have, for example, a function like integral from a to b, and a function of f of x dx. So this f of x, that's like you can think of it as something that is already like first derivative. Yeah. So that's like already a first derivative of something. So what the original function is still, so instead of that, the original function that we're returning with this 2 is then denoted with a capital F, not this F, because this F is already small. F is already the first differential, but now we can say that the capital F is the real original function of x, and in the interval, or so from a to b. So therefore that translates as f of b minus f of a. So basically that's what it is. We have the original function at the point of b minus the original function at the point of a. That original function is antiderivative of f of x. Yeah, so let's do an example. Maybe we do a hard one straight away. Maybe learn something. So let's find what this indefinite integral of 0 to pi quarter of sine and power 2 of 2x dx. So we don't have in our tables that we specified before nothing that relates to what the integral would be of on the power of 2 function. They're all without any powers on them. So what that means is we need to go back and make somehow this power of 2 disappear, and we need to use our trigonometric identities. And the one that comes in mind is that cosine of 2x is equal to 1 minus 2 sine square of x. So if you can't remember this one because it's derived, but you should always be able to remember the basic ones, and then you can derive this one. And the basic one says that a cosine of x plus y is cosine of x times cosine of y minus sine of x times sine of y. This is the one you should remember. If you can't remember anything, remember these basic ones. And then we can derive whatever we need. So instead, if x is equals to y, then we have cosine of 2x equals, and then we have cosine in the power 2 of x, it becomes cosine x times cosine x minus sine x to sine x, that's then sine in the power 2 of x. So now we want this to disappear, because in our case we have sine squared, so that's 1 minus, so that becomes 1 minus sine square of x from the basic one, that sine square of x plus cosine square of x is equals to 1, so that from there you get this, and minus sine square of x. So what you're getting 1 minus 2 times sine square of x, and that's exactly our formula above. So that's how we got to it. So you need to know the basic one, and then you can get whatever you want. So what we're going to do there with our integral, so we can write this down. Oh, we need to adjust it, so that what's sine, if we take sine out of here, on one side sine, so what it becomes, say, look at this simple trick that can help you. You just move the whole lot of this to the other side, and then the whole lot of this to the other side, so you get 2 sine square of x. It changes the sign when you move it, of course. And then you get 1 minus cosine of 2x. And what else? Of course, if you just want sine square of x equals 1 minus cosine of 2x divided by 2. Okay, so let's now continue with our integral. We're gonna remove get some space from our whiteboard. And we're gonna copy our integral above this. So what we're aiming to get the result for is 0 to pi divided by 4 pi quarters of sine square of 2x dx. So now what do we need next? We know that this can be split into two formulas, and here we have 2x, so instead of x you write 2x, and then here becomes 4x, cosine of 4x. So that becomes an integral of I take 1/2 in front, because you know that integrals, adding integrals, you can split them into two, and this is for the first one, and you get of 1 minus cosine of 4x dx. So that's splitting now into two integrals, becomes 1/2 multiplies, and the first one becomes integral of 1 times dx minus integral of cosine of 4x dx. So what that becomes, so that, and the bracket is there, so the first integral one, that was x, yeah, so it becomes 1/2, and here we have x 1 by quarter minus, and the other one we got the same. What's the integral of cosine? Of cosine is sine. So, and because it's ax, remember it's 1 over, so it's 1 divided 1/4, and what of sine, yeah. Sine of 4x from 0 to pi 4/4. And the first bit becomes pi quarter minus x times 0, 0 minus 0 is just pi quarter minus, and 1/4 here, and what's left there. Sine of 4x times pi divided by 4 is sine of pi. Sine of pi is 0, minus sine of 4 times 0 is 0, sine of 0 is 0 again. So what this all comes to, and that's equals there and equals there, what it comes to, pi divided by 8. And that's our first integral, definite integral.